Good afternoon. My name is Aaron Zabadi, and I'll be looking at the economic aspect of immigration. So, what is immigration and how is it an issue? So, I would like to define immigration first. According to the Legal Information Institute, a credible source because it's a primary source on legal information. It's the movement of persons into a new country with intent to reside within that country. And this can affect the size, skills, and location of a workforce. And this is mainly an issue because it can affect the competition, the supply, and the demand of workers in a certain area, depending on where you are. And that has a direct consequence on wages, cost of living, etc. So I'm going to be looking at a specific example here. Um, Germany right now has a shortage of skilled workers and an aging population. There could be many reasons for this. For example, uh, increased longevity, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. You could have low fertility rates, or even just a social change, where maybe, especially in high-income countries, people don't want to have kids anymore. But as a result, it needs immigration to keep the economy supplied with workers. And this has many issues. For example, it strains public housing and public services. The infrastructure probably doesn't have the strength to support the influx of people, and migrants could have trouble getting proper credentials or papers for stable employment. So it might be a little harder for someone who isn't a citizen to maintain a job there, which is already a problem for the worker shortage. So this is a graph by Statistica. It's a credible source because it turns raw data into evidence-based facts. As you can see, generally you have a lot of people around the millions from 1991 to the 2012s coming in constantly. You see a slight rise in 2015 until 2020. You see a drop there, which is, I'm guessing, due to the pandemic. But then you do see a general rise in immigrants in Germany. So in Colombia, it has absorbed a large number of Venezuelan immigrants. This is due to the economic crisis in Venezuela, but also due to its more recent conflict with the US. Initially, it lacked the public infrastructure to handle the massive population increase. So the sudden influx of people put a lot of pressure on what they had, and people focus on informal labor markets, so not always necessarily focusing on getting a job through legal means. So in Canada, there are high levels of immigration to help combat an aging population, and they're pretty open to immigration, as you'd see the graph by Fraser Institute, which is a credible source, by the way, due to its independent research and funding, but also its peer review. Um, anyway, as a result, the housing infrastructure struggles to keep pace with the rapid increase in population, so there aren't as many houses. The supply is really low and demand could be really high, and as a result, the rent prices would skyrocket, and the cost of living would be really high. And there are also chronic labor shortages in specialized jobs, despite high immigration. So you're not always going to find high skilled workers um, when you have immigration. So in Davenport, Florida, more locally, this is actually where I live. The residential growth caused by internal migration is aggravated by immigration. This could result in the rapid increase in the demand for jobs, but also the strain on city planning and rising cost of living as local infrastructure struggles to keep up with the pace of development. So, if you live here, that the roads are absolutely terrible. They're always full, the traffic's always really bad, and the competition for jobs is also overwhelming. I struggle to get a job here, and it's really bad. So in Germany, we're going to be looking at some solutions. Um, they're trying to streamline the credential recognition and other processes so that foreign qualifications are recognized. So having a faster, a more transparent and consistent assessment process for people could allow more skilled migrants to work. And that's a really good thing. They're trying to integrate digitalization of administration services. So just, general digitization, and that could help speed up visa processing, language enrollment, and market registration. And it could really help speed up the time it takes for people to enter the workforce. That's a really good thing. So in Colombia, they're trying to formalize the workforce by granting work permits, and it can help encourage migrants to transition from informal labor to legal employment. So this is actually a really good thing because it helps increase clarity, enhance efficiency. You have more accountability. It's also a good thing for the worker because you have more benefits. It's also more professional. Um, Colombia is also trying to coordinate with international aid, and it could help them secure funding for public health, education, housing, all that good stuff. In Canada, they're looking at the expansion of infrastructure to help handle the influx of extra people, increasing the capacity for housing, transportation, upgrading utilities to prevent system strain. They're trying to build new roads, schools, hospitals, and this really helps support denser populations and also improve the quality of life. And I think that's a really good thing for them. They're also looking at strategic immigration targets. Uh, they're trying to focus immigration towards specific labor gaps. And yeah, so in Davenport, again, this is where I live. They're trying to accelerate urban development, and it can help keep housing supply in healthy range. They're also trying to expand public infrastructure and upgrade utilities to keep pace with residential development. So, not too dissimilar from our friends in Canada. And then you also have AICE. These solutions aren't perfect, by the way. Um, they have their own pros and cons. So, for example, um, accelerating urban development and expanding public infrastructure, it's going to support population growth by creating more jobs, improving long-term affordability, improving quality of life. Uh, but also, there's a lot of short-term disruption. If you live in Florida, sometimes the traffic is a little worse because the construction is blocking the roads. I personally don't find that very enjoyable. And then sometimes the internet will kind of cut out when they're working on it, and I find that even more annoying. And then you also have ICE. I don't really like the solution. I know it's an ethical issue and not really an economic one, but a lot of families and local communities could be stabilized. And overall, I just don't think whatever pros that it has is really worth it. This is my final judgment. Obviously, the solutions I talked about has its pros and cons. It's not perfect, but it can be managed. And despite drawbacks, there has been success in implementing these strategies. I believe that tackling a problem at its core could help solve it, which is why I believe that accelerating urban development, but also improving public infrastructure is the best solution for Florida. I think that the benefits, like creating more jobs, improving long-term affordability, uh, better quality of life, those are all really good things I look forward to. Um, and yeah, my sources, few more sources, and yeah, thank you for watching.